They told him he wasn't top 10. They said he couldn't carry a franchise. But Jalen Hurts has heard it all before. And this season, the silence he answers with may be louder than any of their doubt. The countdown has begun. Just 1 week until the Philadelphia Eagles report to training camp. And this time, the pressure isn't just on. It's personal. Across the league, stories are swirling. Lists are coming out. Rankings drawn up by executives, scouts, and coaches, the so-called gatekeepers of NFL greatness. And in that quiet war of perception, Jalen Hurts finds himself once again under fire. Despite leading a Super Bowl run, despite carrying a franchise on his back, some didn't just rank him low. Some didn't rank him at all. Ninth. That's where they placed him on the list of top quarterbacks. And for some anonymous voters, unranked. As if everything he's earned, every yard, every comeback, every fourth quarter drive, just evaporated into nothing. But this isn't the first time Hurts has been doubted. It won't be the last. And if you know anything about this team, that's fuel. Because while the world keeps asking questions about Hurts, the Eagles themselves, they've got answers everywhere else. Let's start in the trenches with the silent legend, Lane Johnson. He's 35 now. His body has taken a beating over a decade of dominance. And yet, somehow, this summer, he looks better than ever. He's healthy. He's moving with power. And yes, he's still tossing up 700 pounds like it's a warm-up set. Those ankles? Solid. That frame? Lean and lethal. And this might be the season that cements him as the longest tenured Eagle of all time. Beside him stands Brandon Graham, a man who has seen it all in midnight green. Together, they are the bookends of a culture, veterans who know the path to greatness is forged not on Sundays, but in the sweat of July. These aren't just workouts. These are declarations. And while the old guard is holding strong, the youth isn't falling behind. Nakobe Dean, the linebacker with sky-high expectations, is defying timelines. After dealing with setbacks, he's now ahead of schedule in his recovery, sharper, leaner, and hungrier than ever. If the Eagles' defense is going to return to championship form, Dean will be one of the anchors. But perhaps most intriguing of all is Nick Sirianni, still defiant, still unapologetic, still driving a team that feeds off disrespect. While pundits write their predictions and shuffle their power rankings, Sirianni's message remains clear. Let them talk. Let them underestimate. We'll answer in silence with violence. Last year's early struggles were well documented. A sluggish 2-2 start had everyone questioning if lightning could strike twice. But those early misfires? They lit a fire inside this roster. The adjustments came, and the wins followed. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lesson, and one that will shape every rep this offseason. Because the road to a Super Bowl isn't paved in September. It's built in sweat, in grind, in silence, in July. This year, the Eagles aren't just chasing redemption. They're hunting legacy. And if you think Jalen Hurts is going to stay quiet while being called the ninth best quarterback in the NFL, you haven't been paying attention. There's something about disrespect that turns ordinary men into legends. Jalen Hurts is only 26. Just a year ago, he was barely even mentioned in the top quarterback conversations, an afterthought, placed somewhere in the shadows under the title, honorable mention. But this year, he finally broke into the top 10 at number 9. Ninth, it's almost laughable because if you watched him last season, if you saw the grit, the resilience, the cold-blooded calm in fourth quarters, you know that ranking isn't just wrong. It's insulting. Even ESPN's own breakdown admits it. They called his status cemented. They acknowledged he's the most dangerous short-yardage QB rusher in the entire league. He's on a historic run, 4 straight seasons with 10-plus rushing touchdowns, the longest ever by a quarterback. He's not just running over defenders, he's rewriting record books. And still, ninth? Here's the twist. Hurts didn't just dominate on the ground. He silenced critics through the air. He was first in completion percentage over expected plus 6.6. That's elite. That's surgical precision. That's the kind of efficiency reserved for the game's very best. And when it came time for the biggest stage, Super Bowl 59, he uncorked a deep ball to Devonta Smith that felt like it was painted by a master artist. A spiral drop from the heavens into the heart of the Superdome. Touchdown. Artistry. Ice. One AFC executive said Hurts was easily top 5, and if not for some untimely injuries, he might have finished even higher. He cleaned up the turnovers. He became a better pure passer. He's evolving. But here's where the story gets deeper. The ESPN article didn't question whether Hurts belonged in the top 10. That part was obvious. The question now is, can he become the kind of passer who lives in the top 5, year in and year out? Can he dominate from the pocket as effortlessly as he does on the move? The answer is yes, but apparently, not everyone sees it yet. Some scouts compared his growth to early career Russell Wilson. That's a compliment. But it also comes with caveats, claims that Hurts needs a strong running game or wouldn't thrive in a pass-heavy offense. That's the language of those trying not to believe, trying to downplay what's coming. Because those inside the NFL, the ones who have to face him, they know the truth. Take Fred Warner, all-pro linebacker from the 49ers, a man who's faced the fire and walked away burned. He recently said something that shook the conversation. Jalen Hurts is the kind of guy you either want to play with or never face at all. Let that settle in. The man is a nightmare for defenses, not just because of his legs, not just because he can lower his shoulder and bulldoze a linebacker or make you miss in the open field, but because he'll beat you with his mind, with his eyes, with timing, touch, and toughness. He makes the biggest plays when the moment is heaviest. That's what separates Hurts. It's not just about highlight reels, it's about heart rate. In the storm, he slows down. And don't mistake the noise of rankings for the voice of the league. The players know who he is. The coaches game plan for him in their nightmares. And if you needed more evidence of that, look no further than his own head coach. Nick Sirianni has had enough of the narrative that Hurts is carried by his team. He's heard the whispers that it's the system, the weapons, the O-line. But he's ready to call BS on it all. Because Hurts doesn't need excuses made. He needs people to start telling the truth. And that truth? He's a problem. A leader. A storm in a clean jersey. And this year, he's coming to remind the world exactly who he is. Nick Sirianni didn't hold back. Sitting in a closed-door session with local Eagles beat reporters, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles looked straight into the cameras and gave the world a dose of raw, unfiltered truth. I think it's bull. That's how he opened. He was talking about the noise, the tired narrative that Jalen Hurts was carried to the Super Bowl. That somehow, this quarterback, who's broken records and baffled defenses, was just along for the ride. But Sirianni wasn't buying it, and neither should you. He plays the most important position in all of sports. And what I admire about him the most, his selflessness. He'll do whatever we need to win. Whatever. If it's throwing 50 times, he'll do it. If it's handing off 50 times, he won't blink. It's not about numbers. It's not about ego. It's about winning, and nobody understands that better than Jalen Hurts. Last season, every time the Eagles needed him to take command through the air, he delivered. When the play called for a run, he made the audible. You think Saquon Barkley's biggest gains were luck? No, they were called at the line by Hurts. Quietly, confidently, like a chess master. He's evolved at the line of scrimmage. He's seeing defenses like never before. And you never hear him complain. He doesn't pout. He doesn't panic. He just wins. But don't take Sirianni's word for it alone. Two of the sharpest football minds around, Shannon Sharpe and Chad Ochocinco Johnson, recently broke down the criticism circling Hurts. Sirianni's impassioned defense caught their attention. So they asked the simple question: Is the criticism of Jalen Hurts even valid? Ocho Cinco didn't hesitate. Football ain't complicated. It's simple. Jalen plays the game the right way. He wasn't just defending Hurts. He was laying out the blueprint. Hurts doesn't try to play hero ball every snap. He doesn't chase stats. He takes what the defense gives him. You've got Saquon Barkley in the backfield? Hand it off. Let the man cook. You've got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith out wide? Pick your spots. Strike when it counts. And yes, sometimes A.J. doesn't get the looks. Sometimes it's Devonta who eats. That's football. That's how you win games. Not by feeding egos, but by reading the moment. Ocho Cinco summed it up perfectly. We complicate things because it doesn't always look pretty. But the main thing is winning. Exactly. And Jalen Hurts wins. He doesn't care about the optics. He's not chasing headlines. He's chasing championships. Eagle Nation already knows this. You've seen it with your own eyes. But there will always be doubters. Always people on the outside who don't get it, who won't understand this brand of leadership until it punches them in the mouth on a playoff Sunday. So let them talk. Let the media rank him ninth. Let the analysts raise their eyebrows. Because soon, there's going to be so many rings on Jalen's fingers, they'll run out of fingers to count them on. And when that happens, the critics won't have anything left to say. Quick training camp update. We're 1 week out, and the vibes are getting better by the day. Saquon Barkley was spotted moving with real burst on IG, not from his own account, but through one of his private trainers. No limp, no hesitation. Just cuts, quick feet, and violence. And Nakobe Dean? All signs point to him being ahead of schedule after his knee injury. He's grinding. He's hungry. And if he's cleared early, this defense could look nasty right out of the gate. So while the world keeps doubting, this team just keeps sharpening the sword. The moment Nakobe Dean collapsed against Green Bay, it felt like the air was sucked out of the room. An ugly knee injury, one that made even the toughest fans wince. You don't bounce back from that kind of pain easily. And in a league that moves at the speed of violence, injuries like this don't just threaten seasons, they can derail careers. But Nakobe Dean isn't wired like the rest. Now, just months later, all signs point to something remarkable. He's ahead of schedule. And not just jogging or lightly rehabbing, he's working. Exploding through drills. Gritting through weight sessions. Testing that knee like a man with something to prove. And make no mistake, he has a lot to prove. Last year was meant to be his breakout campaign. Now, 2025 could be his redemption arc. But he's not walking that road alone. On the other side of the linebacker room is Jahad Campbell, who spent the last few months nursing a shoulder injury of his own. Another silent worker. Another fighter grinding behind the scenes while critics wonder if the Eagles' linebacker core will hold up. Then you see it, not from his official socials, but through his trainers, clips of him dipping that shoulder, changing direction with speed and control, his burst returning like a wave. And suddenly, you remember why this trio, Dean, Campbell, and Zach Bond, had fans so hyped in the first place. They're not just fast, they're violent, hungry, wired for chaos. This group isn't here to play the position, they're here to own the middle of the field. And as these two get healthy, there's another name making waves right behind them. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has stepped into the spotlight, and he's not blinking. There's something familiar about him. The name, of course. The instincts. The way he reads plays before they even unfold. It's almost like muscle memory was passed down through blood. He doesn't play like a rookie. He plays like someone who's watched greatness up close, and is now hellbent on building his own legacy. And this is why the Eagles don't have to rush anyone back. They've built something smart. Something deep. If Dean or Campbell need more time, Trotter's right there, shouldering the weight without hesitation. So here we are, just days from training camp, and the defense is finally taking shape. You've got returning stars, young guns stepping up, silent battles being fought in rehab rooms. and veterans like Zach Bond itching to lead by example. Meanwhile, the offense? That's already locked and loaded. No concerns there. This team knows who is on that side of the ball. But defensively, the Eagles are sharpening their edge, and they're doing it with patience, discipline, and just enough bite to remind you. When the season starts, they're coming for everything. Let the league underestimate this linebacker unit. Let them doubt the returns from injury. Because when these wolves are finally unleashed together, they won't be hunting. They'll be feasting.